Okay. Hopefully I'll be able to talk through this. As many of you know, I've been sick for the last week or so. I'm starting to feel better, but just still not not feeling fabulous. However, in my more energetic moments, working on some of these redesigns for the children's bedroom furniture has been going really well. So remember this. I once everything was sent to the printers, I could kind of begin working on this again. And I've been going through and making a lot of adjustments to things. Now, the last time you saw the bunk beds, they look more like this. And I'm not mad at this design at all. I like this design quite a bit. However, this wavy line, which I do love quite a bit and intend to use for my own artwork, isn't going to work for things that I would perhaps wish to offer to sell. This takes a level of, I was going to say, pedanticness, and a certain like sprinkling of self-hatred to make these work. So with the design that I have, this being the outside headboard and then these two pieces that wrap around, these two pieces here that wrap around, and then there's a separate piece on the end right here, a separate piece here on the end. That's what I'd been working on. And the reason I knew I needed to work on that is because of that little illustrative element right here that was going to need to come out. And sorry. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. You can see I removed that, and it took me a while to kind of figure out how I wanted the curve, how high I needed it to be. And then I actually was smart and went and looked at some reference photos of things that were inspiring me. And it all kind of fell into place. So once this was done, once this was decided upon, then I needed to figure out how I was going to redo this. Now, I did go through a couple of different iterations, and you can see them right here. I went ahead and created this illustration, drew this one, and I thought, okay, I can just paste it in on top. But I ended up hating how this looked. Absolutely hated everything. So, pardon me, let me get a drink of water here. Actually, apple juice. And for me, there are times that I've done something, I've done it once, I don't want to do it again. And these illustrations were much more difficult to put together than one might think. Because again, I'm looking at, let's see, what's the measurement on this? This illustration in this one is about 5.3 centimeters by about 2.5. So it's a very small thing, but there's a lot going on in it. And I was kind of like, I want to be done with it. I don't want to revisit this, because the problem is if I start pulling things out, then the design isn't going to look right in my head anymore, and I'm going to have to, do more redesign work. So I pulled out the heart because I can't have this and this. That's not going to work. So I pulled up another illustrative element that I'd kept, and I liked these together. And I thought, okay, we can work with this. But now I'm looking at, what do I do with this here? Originally it was, had these elements in it and this heart. And I'm like, oh, crud. And it hit me that I just needed to get rid of the square. That was the biggest problem. So if we come over here, I think it's down here a little further. Yeah. I kept the elements from the heart, the little vine bits here, the very simplified ones. Made the heart smaller, and cleaned up some things that had bothered me. I didn't like how this originally was coming down to more of a point. I needed it to be rounder because there's so many points in here anyway. So I went through and tried really hard not to continue packing more and more things in there, because it really doesn't need that. The other thing I had thought about, and I'm still mulling this over. This background needs to be an enclosed background so that when I use color, I can simply do a point and click when it comes to adding the color. I kind of like giving myself that. So I had originally just drawn a line in here, keeping that squared off at the bottom, but I wasn't sure how it was going to translate into the new piece here. And I'm not sure that I like these cross elements. It does, let me see, use this one. It does begin to mimic some of the things that I have done with crossbars and overlapping on some of the other furniture. It mimics a detail that I've added, but I don't think I like it in this instance, and I think I'm going to remove those. I also went through and I had been looking at how the measurements, let me get this light here a little bit better. Some of the measurements, when you look here, you can tell that measurement is off. You can tell that measurement there is off. Those should be meeting, i.e., they should be flush. Because when you look here at the wooden pieces that sorry, my brain is just not working right now. It should all remain flush. It wasn't, and you could tell here that there were some problems because you can see there's a gap there, and I didn't like that's about a 3 millimeter gap. And I went through, created a new document, and then went through and straightened all of this up. Made sure all of my curves were the same, making sure all of my empty spaces are measuring up. I discovered this side over here was like 2 millimeters longer. So I've cleaned up all of that stuff. And now I'm trying to figure out what elements I want to keep here too. Because I like this piece. I like it as it is. And I would like to keep it as is, but there's a part of me that's like, I think I need to, there's some things I need to do, and I need to figure out what those things are. I'm missing some things. And now, of course, I'm doing more notes on my pages. In addition to getting this straightened up and even, I went through and pulled in the mattress portion, enlarged some things because I think the mattress in some instances was a little too small. Did the same thing here with the bottom cover, so you don't have to look at, yucky stuff. On that other side, it's all enclosed. So I think this is, I'm on my way to getting this to where I want it. And I also think by pulling in some of the decorative elements that I've used in some other pieces, like this flower right here, I think that'll help things blend together. Now, I'm right now, let me go ahead and hit save on this because I really need to update this program, but there's a part of me that's like, I'm terrified to update it. Right here, I've got first and second on my desktop. Let me change this because this is going to bug me. The reason I have first and second is because I have 4 initial drops that I want to do with furniture. The bunk bed and twin bed will be released with the toy chest. Here's the toy chest. The little toy chest. I think there's something in there right now, a little box or something. Those will be released together. The next one is going to be the chair and tables. These pieces right here. And I've got a little bit, it's again that curve thing that I want to kind of solve, and I need to do that. The table, I mean, these have very little that need to be done with them, with exception of this curve. I'd like to have those ready almost for like simultaneous release, just calling them first and second. I've also, let me go back in here, the third set is going to have the drawers, both of the sets of drawers, and the nightstand. And you can see what the theme is on this. You know, you're going to be really good at doing drawers by the end of this. And then the fourth one is going to be shelves. Shelves are one that I need to do some. This is for the shelves. The only really thing I really need to do is fix this top part right here, and then they're going to be pretty much good to go. So that's where I'm at right now, just with these pieces. And as much as being sick sucks, and getting a bonus bit of summer here. It's going to be 31 today. Wow. I've just been kind of sitting tight, taking care of myself, and working on these things. So that's what I'm looking at. There's not a whole lot. I think there's some pieces. Let me put this over here. There's some pieces where I really do need to do. I need to do some thinking about how I want to present these as paper only. Does that make sense? Because with each version, I want you to have the choice of, if you just want to fold this and just make it into just a little dresser with no movable parts, fine. That's not going to be a problem, the way that I design these. However, I want to make sure that the paper pattern, and when I say paper pattern, I mean working on with a heavy cover weight kind of paper, is correct. And that if you want to double things up to make, like, you know, I know that I can make this, and you know, somebody who's just buying it off my website may not have the same skill level. I know that. But I want them to be successful in creating them, if that makes any sense. I hope that makes sense. So that's kind of where I am right now. I'm waiting on the work that I've been doing while I've been waiting on getting the black and white proofs back. And I know that seems very odd, but I'm very much an artist who will have this thing going over here that I'm working on, and this thing going over here that I'm working on, and this thing over here. And it serves two, right now it serves two purposes. It keeps me from getting bored with my own work, and then allows me to switch between them when I run into a stumbling block or I just don't want to work on that one thing for a while. I'm not, I hate to say it, I'm not feeling it, if that makes sense. So, yeah. So that's what I'm doing. Let me know if you have any questions about any of these. For all patrons, all of these patterns will be free. All of these pieces will be free. I know they just seem to take a long time for me to churn out. So thank you for sticking with me, patrons, and I'll see you in the next video.